Hello there. Welcome to Just the Dis. My name is Brian, and we talk about Blu-rays here, and I've got the trusty new disc box, so we're going to do a little update. Some of these are new titles, and there's a couple older ones that I just happened to catch recently, and I thought might be fun to talk about. I've kind of grouped these together in pairs and triplets, and anyway, let's start with AGFA, which is a label I would like to be talking more about on the channel, and I plan to do so. This is one of their most recent releases, Treasure of the Ninja and the Films of William Lee. And boy, oh boy, is this fun. I gotta tell you. Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, that classic sort of backyard kung fu kind of movie. I've talked about a few of those on the channel before. And these are all, I believe, shot on 8mm film. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I read. Meet your new favorite action hero throughout the 1980s. Black filmmaker and martial artist William Lee wrote, produced, directed, and starred in dozens of DIY action epics, all shot on Super 8 in Ohio and New York City. From Treasure of the Ninja, 1987, Lee's most ambitious and beloved movie, to The New Chinese Connection, 1980, an homage to Bruce Lee, William Lee's idol. These inclusive and explosive works serve as an inspiration to anyone with a dream, pulse, or appreciation for spinning kicks. It says AGFA and Bleeding Skull are related to bring the best of the best in William Lee's early filmography to a wider audience for the first time ever, complete with brand new transfers and a revelatory stack of previously unreleased films. So this is cool because it is obviously not just one movie. It is a whole bunch of stuff. As you can see there, the new transfers from a 3/4 master tape, which it looks fine. It's a grainy 8mm film, and it's fun for me because it's got that old school kung fu film, you know, kung fu vibe, because it's all ADR, it's all post-synced, and so all the dialogue is sort of dubbed, and it's a little off in the dubbing, and so it just feels like that sort of classic stereotypical kung fu film. And it's crazy. It's like, you know, a couple, I can't remember if they're scientists or archaeologists or whatever. They're looking for, they're looking for some treasure, and they end up running into like this dude who's sort of like the evil genius of the movie that's been shunned, and so he's got like a revenge thing happening, and he's got ninjas, and there's a lot of people running around the woods. It feels in some parts like a giant adult game of capture the flag with kung fu fights in it, you know, so it's very I don't know, it's like I said, it's that DIY vibe, and there's just some really funny dialogue in it, and the fight scenes are fun. I got a real kick out of it. It's actually kind of long. It's like an hour and 45 minutes. So it's kind of an epic in that sense. But, you know, once you're into it, I feel like you won't mind it being that long. It's just so much fun. And I can't imagine seeing it with a crowd. I'm sure it would just slay with a crowd. But watching with a group of friends and a few beers would, I think, be pretty fantastic. So I was really caught up in this one. I really enjoyed it. And as I said, there's a bunch of features here. So you have a commentary track with William Lee and the Bleeding Skull gang, Annie Choi and Joseph A. Ziemba. And then you have bonus movie Dragon vs. Ninja 1984, previously unreleased, transferred in 2K from the original Super 8 elements. And then a short, The New Chinese Connection, previously unreleased, transferred in 2K from the Super 8. And another short, actually several shorts, the Willie Jack series, all previously unreleased and transferred in 2K from the Super 8 elements. I want to say there's like at least 3 other shorts in here. So it's like a real nice package of films that you get, this encapsulation of William Lee and his martial artistry and his filmmaking. And this is definitely the kind of thing that you hope for from AGFA. It's just that kind of, you know, how have I never heard of this? How much fun is this? You know, not quite like a Miami Connection, because it's not quite as polished as that, as if you can call Miami Connection like a super polished film, but it's still a lot of fun, even if the plot and some of the characters don't totally make sense to me at this point. Like, I'm going to need a couple more viewings to understand the plot, because there's a lot of plot in Treasure of the Ninja. But that said, it's just so much fun. Like I said, there's so much quotable dialogue that you will walk away with lots of stuff to talk about. So that's Treasure of the Ninja from AGFA. Next up, we have, I think, their most recent release. This is She Freak, written and produced by David F. Friedman. This one is from 1967. And I should say it is sort of a cult favorite, an old school something weird title. So in this case, you have, instead of Bleeding Skull and AGFA like this, you have Something Weird in AGFA, which is always great, digging into the Something Weird catalog. And this is like just one of those classic Something Weird movies. You know, it's a very low budget exploitation movie about a discontented waitress working at a, you know, side of the road diner who wants to get out of there and sees an opportunity when the carnival comes to town. She bails on her waitressing job and gets basically another new waitressing job, kind of, working at the carnival, helping serve food to the staff. And she makes friends with one of the strippers there, and she gets her eye on Bill McKinney, who's one of the most high-profile actors in this film. And she decides that she wants to marry him, and you know, he runs the freak show concession basically, but she doesn't like the freaks, and you can kind of see where this is headed, I would imagine. There's definitely some similarities to Todd Browning's Freaks, and you will get all of them by the time you watch the whole film. But, you know, it's just, again, like Bleeding Skull bringing out Treasure of the Ninja, Something Weird has a certain, you know, kind of film that they, you know, I associate with them, and She Freak is the kind of film I associate with them. And so this is, you know, a really nice release of this movie. 4K restoration from the original 35mm camera negative. Archival commentary with producer David F. Friedman and Something Weird founder Mike Vraney. Asylum of the Insane, She Freak inserts preserved in 2K. The laughing, leering, lampooning lures of David F. Friedman, a feature-length compilation of trailers from Something Weird vaults, newly preserved in 2K, which is a really cool feature. I want to say it's like an hour and 37 minutes of trailers of David F. Friedman movies, and it's definitely that kind of thing you can put on in the background and just kick back and watch. You know, I know a lot of people like the trailer compilations, and so this includes that as well. And it also includes a really neat booklet with an essay from Something Weird's Lisa Petrucci. And that is in here. Nice little booklet, which they don't always do in AGFA releases, but this is a really nice one. And then you have your alternate artwork, of course. But yeah, this is a fun sort of cult movie. It says, let's see here. A gutter noir reworking of Todd Browning's Freaks, a Valentine to the carnival lifestyle that defined the career of producer David F. Friedman, I guess who produced Blood Feast. She Freak is a snapshot of life, love, and revenge on the grounds of a seedy carnival in small-town USA, complete with crockpot monster makeup effects from Harry Thomas, who did Plan 9 from Outer Space. And it said, like Devo's music and Ed Wood's novels, She Freak creates a synthetic reality that is often preferable to our own. So anyway, a classic cult item in the Something Weird vein, now on Blu-ray, looking as good as it will ever look, for sure. Next up, I got a couple vampire movies here. This is a new one from Scream Factory, Return to Salem's Lot, from, I want to say, 1987. Sort of a quasi-sequel to the Salem Lot movie / miniseries directed by Tobe Hooper. This one is done by the late, great Larry Cohen, and it is definitely a Larry Cohen movie. It is strange and cheesy and has some really fun things about it, like a lot of Larry Cohen. So in this case, we have a what is his? He's like a reporter. The terrifying tale of Salem's Lot continues in the shocking and satirical A Return to Salem's Lot. Beneath the quaint picture-perfect exterior of a small New England community lurks an unsettling undead evil, vampires. When fresh blood comes to town in the form of an amoral anthropologist, Joe Weber, that's Michael Moriarty, who is, of course, a regular in pretty much all of Larry Cohen's movies. He's not a single one, but he is very much the, De Niro to the Scorsese of Larry Cohen. He is that kind of relationship with him, because he's this guy, he uses him all the time, and I like Michael Moriarty, and he's got a really specific energy to him that is almost unduplicated by any other actor. And it's hard to explain, but it's this, he just gets lost in the character, and there's an emotional something there that you just respond to. And yeah, I'm a big Michael Moriarty fan, and I can't even explain what it is he's doing that I'm responding to. If you watch it, it's almost other dimensional, his performances in some ways. And that's not to say it's bad or off-putting. They're just very specifically him. So he gets called away from this anthropological movie he's making on this tribe in another country to take his son to Salem's Lot. And it's an interesting scenario where in the town, vampires reveal themselves a bit early, and they actually he sort of makes a deal with them to write their Bible, if you will. It's another sort of anthropological thing that he's working on, and so he's going to write their Bible. And so anyway, his son gets involved with the vampires, and it just gets weird. And I think one of my favorite things about it is that about halfway through the movie, Sam Fuller shows up, director, cult icon Sam Fuller, shows up as a guy looking for a friend of his who's gone missing, and he's more a vampire hunter, and he does just some really cool vampire hunting stuff, and he's just Sam Fuller in this movie, and it's just a blast to have him come in and sort of at the halfway mark just shift it into another gear, but it's got some very cheesy stuff about it, so it's, it doesn't really compare in a lot of ways to the original, because I think the original miniseries / film by Tobe Hooper is actually one of the best things Tobe Hooper ever did, and one of the better adaptations of Stephen King. And this is just based on the characters of King, so it's really Larry Cohen going off and doing his own thing. But anyway, I'm a fan of it. Definitely Sam Fuller saves the day for me. It's also got some other cool folks in it, like Evelyn Keyes is a part of it, and there's some other older actors that I definitely recognize that I can't recall their names. I'm not sure if it's Andrew Duggan or who I'm thinking of, but anyway, it's fun. If you like vampire films, I think you could do a lot worse than Return to Salem's Lot. This does not have any features, unfortunately, but it's looking better than it has previous. So that's that. And then one that I know a lot of people have talked about because it's part of course, the Vestron series. This is one of the newest ones from them, Sundown, the Vampire in Retreat, which is another film, like Return to Salem's Lot, where you have strangers entering a vampire town. And in this case, the vampires have sort of figured out how to live independently. They live in a remote town called Purgatory, and they have figured out a way to create and synthesize fake blood. So, you could say that this is an influence on maybe something like True Blood. If you watch it, you can kind of see the tenets of something that resembles a True Blood type town in some ways. The town is sort of run by David Carradine. He's the Lord Vampire, but there's a lot of fun vampires in this, including Emmett Walsh and Deborah Foreman, and yeah, it's a really fun cast. Bruce Campbell shows up as I can't remember if he's like a reporter or a professor or what his deal is, but he sort of stumbles into the town, and he's fun. I always love Bruce Campbell in a supporting role like this. It's great. He and Deborah Foreman hit it off. That's another pairing I would love to see in another movie. Deborah Foreman and Bruce Campbell just hanging out. But yeah, so it's like this small town is having problems with the blood manufacturing, so they call in the guy who invented the synthesized blood, and he brings his family out, and it's his wife and his 2 daughters, and that's going to be problematic in this vampire town, right? So anyway, it's just like a matter of like, how do the vampires deal with these outsiders? Do they let them live, or will they be turned into vampires? We shall see. But it's a, kind of a light touch. It's a little bit of a goofy tone. So it's not like a scary horror. It's more like a horror comedy, ultimately, with some maybe slightly scarier moments. Maxwell Caulfield is a vampire in this. John Ireland, I think, also. So this one is pretty cool, though. And I had heard of it, but I'm glad it came out as part of this series. As you can see, it has an audio commentary with director Anthony Hickox and director of photography Levi Isaacs. Isolated score selections and audio interviews with music historian Randall Larson and producer Jeff Richard. Interviews Wild Weird West, an interview with Anthony Hickox. Bloodsuckers from Purgatory, interview with special makeup effects creator Tony Gardner, who I believe worked on The Blob, the remake of The Blob, and that has some of the greatest practical effects I've ever seen. And this has some fun practical effects too, by the way, for sure. Memories of Moab, interview with actor Bruce Campbell. Vampire Reformed, an interview with actor David Carradine. A True Character, interview with actor Emmett Walsh, and the trailer. So I think a really fun new addition to the already very robust and enjoyable Vestron video collector's series. That is Sundown, the Vampire in Retreat. Next up, we have just a quick standalone. This one is from Gunpowder and Sky, one of the partner labels to Vinegar Syndrome. I think I talked about their film Prospect on 4K, which was a really fantastic release, and they followed it up with another winner of a 4K release. This film is called Awaken, and it is, a brand new film from this year, and it is very much in the vein of, the Koyaanisqatsi kind of visual poem documentary kind of thing, and it's beautiful. This 4K is absolutely stunning. Imagine, something like Koyaanisqatsi in 4K, and it's just gorgeous. It says from executive producers Terrence Malick and Godfrey Reggio, and narrated by Liv Tyler, comes a unique and timely film experience featuring immersive imagery, beautiful creatures, an inspiring message. Awaken explores the humanity's relationship with technology and the natural world. Shot over a 5-year period in more than 30 countries, the film pioneers state-of-the-art time-lapse, time dilation, underwater, and aerial cinematography techniques to give audiences new eyes with which to see the world. And this has a director's commentary track, and like I said, it's just gorgeous. There'll just be these amazing shots of like some kind of a group of people carrying torches, some indigenous rituals, some guy walking a camel along the beach in the water at the edge of the ocean. Just absolutely mesmerizing, poetic, and beautiful imagery, and it's just breathtaking. I was really floored by this one. I wasn't sure when I saw the cover. I'm like, what is this? And I was immediately smitten. And the 4Ks from Gunpowder and Sky, they're 2 for 2. They have 2 great 4K releases. Head over to Vinegar Syndrome and check out the partner labels. You can order this direct from them there. I think it might be on Amazon as well. But highly recommended. Like I said, if you like that sort of visual poem documentary style, this is your new jam. Awaken. Okay, next up I have some stuff from William Castle. This is just sort of an aside thing that I ended up doing, where I was watching actually the second movie first, and I was like, don't I have... Somebody suggested this one as another William Castle comedy, although this one is a little bit... It's definitely lighter, and a comedy, but not a comedy in the way the next movie I'm going to talk about is. But so I was like, oh, let's watch some like lesser seen William Castle movies, or lesser talked about. You know, the box sets are great. I have those right there. But these next three films I'm going to talk about are not part of those box sets, and I feel like they are a bit neglected and less well remembered, at least right now. And this one was a lot of fun. I mean, fun, not like, ha ha ha, so great, but like pretty clever in a way. The idea is that there is a car accident at the beginning of the movie. We see William Castle himself dead in a crashed car with blood on his face. And we find out he is like a wealthy industrialist who has died and left his fortune to his son, whose name is Barnaby. He's the little kid there on the cover. And he also has a brother, and the brother's played by Nigel Green. So that's his uncle. And so the kid is taken by a police officer to this island to meet his uncle. And I forget if they're going to discuss the, arrangement with the will or what's happening, but he's going to meet his uncle. He goes on this boat. While he's on the boat, the kid meets this girl played by Mary Badham, who was Scout Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird 4 years prior to this. So she's a little older in this film. And they hate each other. The first moment we see them, they're like yelling at each other, and she's calling him a liar. And he does seem to tell stories. He's talking about how his uncle's a spy or something. And it sounds like maybe his uncle is a spy, but he does tell stuff that sounds like it's, could be whoppers, if you will. So they immediately have an adversarial relationship, but the girl is going to meet her aunt, who also happens to live on this island, and her aunt is played by Linda Lawson, who I know most from Night Tide. And she's really great as the maybe mermaid in Night Tide with Dennis Hopper. It's a much different role for her here. She's, just a very nurturing aunt character in this film. And so I dug her performance. But so the uncle shows up, and almost immediately he seems nice, and then I'm just going to spoil just a little bit so you get the setup of this. He hypnotizes Barnaby and tries to talk him into walking off a cliff and killing himself accidentally. And you're just like, what is happening with his uncle? Why would he do that? And then he just basically lays it out like some kind of supervillain. He's like, look, I get all the money. I get like $5 million if you die, but I can't kill you. It has to look like an accident. So that's why I brought you to this island. There's lots of ways for you to accidentally die on this island. And so watch out, because I'm going to try and kill you. And the kid is just like flabbergasted and terrified by this. And, he tries to tell the cop, but of course, because he tells so many lies, or seemingly so, nobody believes him except his little friend played by Mary Badham. And so she's like, well, let's kill him first, which I think is a really funny and dark turn. And so they start trying to kill him. They're like, let's poison him with mushrooms. Let's do this and that. And there's a fun reveal with a pool in here that I'm not going to talk about. But yeah, so then it's just sort of like, it's a weird, like reverse, Shadow of a Doubt kind of, because you have like the uncle character. In this case, he wants to kill the kid as opposed to sort of protecting the kid. And so I think it's just a strange, I don't know. I was really fascinated by it, and I actually really dug it by the end. But it took a minute to get into it. I'm like, what is this movie? What is this about? And once it becomes about the uncle and the kid trying to kill each other and him kind of saying like, it's a game. We're playing this game, and let's see who's gonna win. Uncle always wins, you know. So I just really dug it, you know, from William Castle's dark, macabre, comedic point of view. I think it works. So this is a Kino Blu-ray, as you can see. It has an interview with actor Pat Carty, Mr. Castle and me, and then it has a really nice audio commentary from the late Mike McPadden, and then also accompanied by Kat Ellinger. And the two of them have done several commentary tracks, all of which I've enjoyed. Jeremy comes to mind immediately, but they've done others. Anyway, a very nice commentary track. Gives a lot of good context for this film, and so I totally dug this. This is an older Kino release. It came out last year, I think, and I was excited to get it again because I like William Castle and because I wasn't sure what to expect. And so I'm glad somebody recommended this because I just dug it out. I was like, I haven't watched that yet. But the thing that really kicked off my William Castle binge was this one, which is another one that came up on Twitter somewhere. Somebody was talking about horror comedies. And this one's called The Spirit is Willing. This is from 1967. So this is the year after Let's Kill Uncle. And this one is much more of a straight comedy, okay? And it's about a family played by Sid Caesar and Vera Miles. And their son is Barry Gordon, who is the kid from 1,000 Clowns, which is a movie that I love. And I've talked about 1,000 Clowns on the channel. There's a great Kino Blu-ray of 1,000 Clowns where Barry Gordon stars opposite Jason Robards, and they're amazing together. He's got this voice that you'll recognize. It's like a cartoon voice almost. But so he's just this little kid, younger kid here in a pirate outfit. And it says, legendary cult filmmaker William Castle directs this spooky horror comedy. A couple and their adolescent son move into a quiet New England summer cottage. Soon after their arrival, a series of strange and increasingly destructive occurrences begin to happen. The perpetrators are a trio of angry ghosts who want the cabin all to themselves. Stellar cast includes John MacGyver, Mary Wickes, Jesse White, Harvey Lembeck, J.C. Flippin, and John Aston. And so, yeah, this is just a really well done, although I'll give you one thing that bothers me slightly about it, but it opens with the setup of this old house, and it shows like the three people that would be the ghosts that come to haunt the house and how they become dead, like how they die. And then the opening credits is just this really wonderfully, charmingly well done and clever montage of all the people over the years, because that happens in like the 1800s, that have tried to move into the house. And it's done in this like cutout animation style. So like one guy will come up to the house with his family, open the door, and the door falls on him and kills him. And it's all done in that animation, and it's just really a great way to open the movie. The film has this wonderful score by Vic Mizzy, who I believe did The Addams Family. I can't remember if he did The Munsters too, but he's just got this very wonderfully upbeat and kiddie sort of feeling jazz sort of vibes that he does, you know. And so he did the score to something like The Ghost of Mr. Chicken, you know, and I just love his music. I think it's this great 60s, almost cocktail hour fun. So anyway, that score and the comedic performances make this feel almost like a Disney movie, like a Disney haunted house movie or something like that. And so the setup is that, you know, they move into the house and the ghosts just, they can't stop fighting. So they keep wrecking everything in the house. And of course, it always happens when the parents are out of the room, so the kid gets blamed, and it's another movie where, like the other one, the parents don't believe, the adults don't believe the kids. And so he just gets more and more frustrated, Barry Gordon, as he goes, because he's just like already kind of cranky. And now he's got his parents pissed at him because everything in the house keeps getting wrecked. And he keeps saying, look, I didn't do it. It's not me. And they're just like, what are you talking? Obviously you did it. Why are you lying? You know? And so then it's just like one of those, like, how do we, you know, solve this ghost thing? How do we make them contented so they go away? But it's a very cute movie, and I was very happy to get to check it out. Sid Caesar and Vera Miles are fun together, and I'm just a big Barry Gordon fan. And just all in all, really enjoyed Spirit is Willing. So that was a fun William Castle newbie. And while I'm on the new William Castle topic, I have to talk about this one, although I know I've brought it up before. This is a film he did after those two. This is from 1974, one of his later, almost towards the end movies, and it's called Shanks. And it stars Marcel Marceau as a puppeteer. And this is a almost silent movie. I mean, it has sound effects and dialogue, but not very much. And it's just like this weird, like grim fairy tale kind of movie about this guy. Again, he's a puppeteer. He lives with his wife and her brother, who's an alcoholic and abusive, and it's not a good scenario. And he gets to know this old man who he also plays, and who owns this big old house on the hill and is working on this device that will allow him to marionette human beings. Basically, you like stick some electrodes in them, and it's best if they're dead. And then you have this little device you can turn, and it will move their arms and legs, and it basically, becomes like human marionette. And so through happenstance, some characters in the film die, and Marcel Marceau eventually ends up sort of living in the rich man's house and, operating some zombies. And there's like some bikers and stuff in this movie. It becomes like a biker home invasion movie. Like, it is so bizarre. I cannot tell you. There's nothing like it out there in the world. And it will definitely be the kind of movie that some will watch and go, what was that? That was complete garbage. But the more I watch this, the more it fascinates me, the more it sort of has this melancholy that sticks with me. And Marcel Marceau, of course, doesn't speak through the whole film. And he is really good in this role and just has this incredible physicality that is put to perfect use in this movie. And it just couldn't have been done with anybody else. So I love that it's latter William Castle. It's this great showcase for Marcel Marceau, and it's this weird fantasy fairy tale. So it's actually one of my favorite William Castle movies. So anyway, I wanted to bring it up as part of this William Castle group. But anyway, that's it. Just a few things I wanted to talk about, a few new things, and a couple old things, like I said. So hopefully that's an enjoyable bunch of films and Blu-rays and 4Ks for you to check out. And thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.